mobile phone, please switch it to silent now.
I'm basically at the London
Before we
Eye.
depart, please listen carefully to the following short safety
I'm
announcement.
going to be making you see the
This
beautiful
boat
city
is
of
licensed to
London. You're gonna
carry
be
children on board. Please remain seated as much as possible.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on board your London Eye River cruise. My name is Vicky. I will be your host for the next 45 minutes, you lucky, lucky people. I am not a disembodied voice. I have human form. If you turn around, upper deck, you brave, crazy souls. Yeah, I'm the very cheerful woman who scans your tickets. Hello. One or two very quick, very boring safety announcements. If you're going to stay up here, by all means do, but you must be seated, please. Our captain does drive from behind you. You will appreciate that when you stand up, it can block Alan's view, and we really do need Alan to see where he's going, trust me, or else we get friendly with bridges. You're welcome, however, to go downstairs anytime you like. We're not monsters. We're not going to argue with your basic human right to use the bathroom. I'm not going to rugby tackle you to the floor if you need the loo or you want to get warm. We do have warmer seating downstairs, along with our bathrooms and my colleague Willow. So if you need anything, questions, queries, life advice, Willow is down there for you. I think that's all the admin out of the way. Do feel free to wave at the people on the bridges as well, because they love it up there for some reason. I have no idea why, but it's genuinely the only time you can wave at a complete stranger in London without fear of arrest, so enjoy it while you've got the opportunity. Don't do that on public transport, you get a very different reaction. You wave at someone on the tube, you're going to get one finger back, not five. We're going to head through Westminster Bridge and then kick off with this incredibly magnificent building on our right-hand side. See, automatic, they love it. The centre of UK government. I present to you the Houses of Parliament. Or, to give that building its proper title, that is the new Palace of Westminster. And that is the new palace, by the way, because the old one burned down in 1834. We only have that one there since 1860. Not as old as it looks, not by a long shot. We do, of course, divide the houses into two. We have the House of Commons with the green seats for our voted-in politicians, and we have the House of Lords with the red seats. The Lords are our invited politicians, our peers. They're kept separate at all times to avoid corruption, supposedly. So they can't use the same bathroom, they can't eat lunch together. You see there are two different coloured tents outside the building. Those are their two separate dining areas, red or green. And just before we turn around and start our journey proper, I'd just like you to look at the corner of the palace in front of us. You see that tiny little stone hut with the steps leading down into the water? That is all that remains of the original medieval palace. That was once the smallest prison in England. So traitors to the crown, we're talking people like Guy Fawkes and William Wallace, aka Braveheart, aka Mel Gibson. They were kept in that little stone hut there overnight while their fate was decided inside that palace. And if you were guilty, which apparently they were, in the morning they'd march you down those steps there. They're called the Black Rod Steps. They would chuck you into a waterman's boat and you'd be sailed down to the Tower of London to have your head removed. Same journey we are about to make, hoping with a more positive outcome. We will see. It's been a bit of a week. We're going to turn now. I will say a few more things about the palace while we have it so close though. There are 3 towers on it. The tallest one, the one closest to us now, sorry guys, you have to crane your necks a bit. The one up there with the Union flag flying, and that is the Union flag. It is not a Union Jack. It is only ever a Union Jack when it's flying on the water. That is the Victoria Tower. As a fellow Victoria, I approve. That's the Archive Tower. That's where we used to keep our ballot papers after our general elections for exactly 1 year. And then we destroy them. We have the tower in the centre of the palace. You'll see it when we finish turning. And that's got the incredibly creative name of the Central Tower. Acts as sort of like a chimney for the building. I am still willing to bet that most of you think you can see Big Ben over there on our left-hand side. And now you can't see Big Ben, ladies and gentlemen. That is not physically possible. No one ever gets to see Big Ben, ever, unless you have X-ray vision. You cannot. Now, Big Ben is the name of the bell that lives inside the tower. It is not the name of the tower itself. Shock, plot, twist. Now, what we're looking at up there, that's called the Elizabeth Tower. Only renamed in 2012. Until then, we always just called it the Clock Tower, officially. Not much imagination going on there either. Don't worry though, everyone in London calls it Big Ben, I assure you. You've actually probably heard, or rather you've not heard, Big Ben the bell, not ringing right now. It's got about another year and a half to go before it will start ringing regularly again. Basically, that tower is getting a full makeover. No one has touched it in about 50 years. Someone showed me a picture of the inside recently. It's 50 years worth of rust and erosion, basically. It's not safe. And they do reckon if they kept the bell ringing while they were fixing the tower, the workers up there would be deaf in about 3 days. So it is for a good cause. And it is still ringing on special occasions like Remembrance Sunday, which is always really lovely, and New Year's Eve as well. A couple more things about the palace while we have it on our left. If you have very good eyesight, look under the windows. You see those different coats of arms? They do all look the same, but I assure you, each one is unique. Each one represents a different aristocratic British family in England and Wales. If you have exceptional eyesight, we're talking 20/20, look underneath the bottom set of windows. The Lord's Prayer is written in Latin again and again and again. It kind of wraps itself all the way around the palace like a ribbon, supposedly to ward off evil. Or keep it inside, depending on your perspective. Right, now seeing as it's looming in front of us all dramatic, I feel like it's a good opportunity for a bit of shameless promotion. I'm going to talk to you a bit about my employer, lastminute.com London Eye, the reason we are all here today, my reason for living, literally they pay me. The London Eye stands at 135 metres, which by the way makes it the world's largest cantilevered observation wheel. We're not allowed to use the F word here, that is not a Ferris wheel. My manager gets very upset with me when I use that kind of language. No, it's an observation wheel because the pods are on the outside of the structure, not the inside. It was designed by a husband and wife architect team. David Marks and Julia Barfield entered a competition in a Sunday newspaper to design a new London landmark, and that is what they came up with. Didn't win, came second. But British Airways loved the idea so much they ended up paying for it. £75 million a London Eye cost. Please don't only ever see the tip of that iceberg. 2/3 of that building are hidden underground. Apparently 17 floors all in all. There's supposed to be nuclear fallout shelters down there, secret wine cellars, corridors that go straight to the Prime Minister's office of Buckingham Palace. They were not happy at the Ministry of Defence when we first wanted to build the London Eye. They took us straight to court. They thought that if we had the London Eye up, foreign spies would be able to jump into our capsules, right to the top, use binoculars to look through their windows and steal our nation's secrets. And this dragged on for years. It went to court, and then it went to the High Court, and then it was eventually brought before a judge who said, why don't you just buy some curtains? And that is exactly what they did. If you look at the ministry now, nearly all the windows have blinds on them, and they are very petty about it. They make a point of lifting them at the exact time that the London Eye closes. So they did take his advice. It was very embarrassing and expensive and a big old waste of time for everyone. The bridges in front of us here, these are the newest bridges on the river, the Golden Jubilee for bridges. They run into Charing Cross Station on our left here. You see there's a train just poking out of Charing Cross now. I am only bringing this up because so many people think that building is MI5 or MI6. Don't know how that rumour got started, but it's the back end of a train station, I promise you. It was actually designed, that building, to look like a giant train coming out of a dark tunnel with smoke all around it. If you can see that, well done. I think it looks like a giant toaster. More than open to other suggestions. My favourite area in all of London is on our right hand side here. It extends about a mile. This stretch of bankside is called South Bank, or the South Bank Centre. It is London's hub of the arts. Anything vaguely arty, over there. Concert halls, cinemas, theatres, art galleries, street food from all over the world, bars, restaurants, performers, musicians. The world's first skateboard park is over there, fairground rides. It is an amazing place to take a walk. Any time of day, any kind of weather. Even on days like today, honestly. For example, the first building on the right, when we're through these bridges, that is our Royal Festival Hall. That is the home of the London Philharmonic Orchestra. It is a world-class concert hall. Right, stepping up the tone a little bit. Everyone look to the back side on our left. You see that square building with the dark green tile roof and the single flag on top? That is the world famous Savoy Hotel, one of the absolute grandest we have to offer. So, one night in their best room, that's the recently refurbished Royal Suite, by the way, that will cost you £14,750. And there is a 3-night minimum stay policy for that particular room. Yeah. That was our very first hotel to have ensuite bathrooms, electricity, working elevators, and anyone vaguely famous has stayed there. So it is a lovely building, it just doesn't quite justify the cost. This bridge in front of us here looks a bit nondescript. This bridge has the best nickname in London. We nickname everything in London. This is Waterloo Bridge. We like to call it the Ladies' Bridge, and that is because this bridge was built during World War II. Most of our men were away fighting bravely for king and country. In their absence, women built this bridge. They estimate that up to 90% of the workforce on this bridge was female. And may I just say, and I'm sure this is a total coincidence, this is still the first and only bridge in London that has ever been finished on time and under budget. And it is London's only completely self-sufficient bridge. It's made of a self-cleaning stone. Portland stone, it reacts with rainwater, so it never gets dirty. Cleverest bridge on the river, actually. Go on, the girls. Now the tide is still quite low, so I can show you one of London's best kept secrets. Keep looking behind these trees on our right. The buildings behind them are the old Itv Studios, so that's where we used to record a lot of our most popular TV shows for a lot of our channels. Things like Take Me Out, Hampton Deck, Jonathan Ross, QI, Graham Norton This Morning. That was all filmed over there. Now they relocated to West London while they refurbished, but they left behind this little wharf, which for half the day has a little sandy beach in it. Probably the closest thing we have in the city to a 5-star beach resort, which is a bit depressing. It's called Gabriel's Wharf, this area. We like to call it the Costa del Thames. That little beach area is only available for half the day because the River Thames will rise and fall about 7 metres twice a day. While it's over there, it's really, really lovely, particularly in the summer. Artists go down there and make the most beautiful sand sculptures. It's a really popular place for treasure hunting, mudlarking, we call that. If you see anyone walking along the bankside of the Thames looking down, they're usually looking for treasure. People sunbathe over there, they walk their dogs. In the wharf, there's that little gourmet pizza restaurant. That's one of my favourites. Craft fair, boutique shops. Really underrated part of the South Bank, Gabriel's Wharf. Doesn't get as much attention as it should do, really. So if you do walk it later, drop by. It needs a bit more love. Also on our right, this red brick building with the tower on top with OXO. That is the OXO building. It used to be the meat production warehouse where we made OXO stock cubes and gravy, which are still quite popular today. If you think it says OXO on that tower, you could not be more wrong. That legally says nothing. When they built that tower in the 1930s, advertising on this river was illegal. This river is a royal highway, which was a nice way of saying the king did not want to see adverts when he was cruising up and down. So they dragged OXO straight to court over that tower. In court, they had their very clever lawyer argue to a particularly stupid judge that did not say OXO. No, they just ordered a random selection of shapes. Just so happened that what turned up were circles and crosses that lit up in the company colours. But the judge believed it. It did get thrown out of court, so that is still the best case of free advertising you will ever find in London today. Doesn't say OXO, apparently. In the distance on our left, you've got a really stunning view of St Paul's Cathedral. Ignore these hideous cranes in front. Focus on that big domed building with the cross on top. That is the second largest domed cathedral in the entire world after St Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. It was built in 1710 by Sir Christopher Wren to replace the one that burned down in the Great Fire of London, and it stands at 365 feet. We've had so many famous things happen inside St Paul's. People are buried in there, like Lord Nelson, the Duke of Wellington. Even in recent history, Churchill had his funeral in there. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached in St Paul's in 1964. Prince Charles married Lady Diana in there in 1981. The Queen celebrated her 90th birthday in there. And we are hopeful that the Jubilee celebrations next year will be held in St Paul's too. I just want to very quickly mention this building on our right because it is very eye-catching with the bump in the side. I always get asked about it. That is number 1 Blackfriars. Luxury apartments, just finished. The latest addition to the London skyline. That building's so new that we haven't come up with a nickname for it yet. I've heard lots of suggestions. The vase, the boomerang, the baby bump and the Kim Kardashian. We will see which one sticks. one has been more popular than the others. As we go through the set of bridges here, make sure you look to both your left and right hand sides. You're going to see wedged between them as a set of mysterious red columns. Just kind of standing there, they're not doing much in particular, they are definitely not supporting anything. Why are they there? Are they giant bird feeding tables? Is this the Independence version of Stonehenge? Are they sponsored by Coca-Cola? Hello, lower deck. I've come down to defrost the wall for a little while. I will tell you about these columns on our way back, because we are moving slightly quicker than I anticipated, and I am already talking at 100 miles per hour, so I will save that for our return journey, and I will keep you in suspense. What is the river cruise without a bit of suspense? I just want to very quickly mention, while I'm on the subject of St Paul's on our left here, you're going to notice there are no taller buildings around it. It's protected with a law that says that you have to be able to see St Paul's at all times from 13 key points in London. Is that important to us? That's why the City of London School on our left here, see it's got a glass roof and a glass atrium. That's so you can see the cathedral straight through it, and it honours that law. The Pedestrian Bridge in front of us here, Millennium Bridge, great nickname. We call this one the Wobbly Bridge. And that is because when we opened this bridge in June 2000, we had to close it again after just 8 hours of being open to the public. They found an unexpected wobble in this bridge's structure. Basically, the entire bridge was shaking up to 7 inches side to side. People were being violently sick of this bridge. They had to close it down for nearly 2 years after that 8 hours. It ended up costing them more to fix the wobble than it did to build the bridge in the first place. They had to get NASA's help in the end. Space NASA. Oh, and the bridge's architect, Lord Norman Foster, who was a northerner, by the way, he denied there was anything at all wrong with the design or construction of his bridge. He blamed the way that people in London walk. Apparently down here we march. Who knew? On the backside to our right here, there's a beautiful white round old-looking building with a thatched roof on top. That is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Although I should say that is the reproduction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. We've only had that one since 1997, but it was built using all the same tools and methods that we used on the original. So no electricity was used to build that building, and that is the only thatch roof you're going to find anywhere in London. Thatch has been illegal since the Great Fire. You can see Shakespeare's plays in there, but only during the summer months because it is open air, so you'd freeze. In the meantime, they are still doing tours in there. Their tour guides are wonderful, and they have 2 smaller, warmer indoor theatre spaces too, if you fancy visiting. That is not the original site of Shakespeare's Globe though. Just beyond this next bridge to our right, you see there's a square black glass building with FT on it. That is the office of the Financial Times newspaper. I know, I could barely contain my excitement either. They've got a plaque in the car park saying that's where the original Globe once stood. It burned down when an actor thought it would be a terrific idea to let off a live cannon during a performance of Henry VIII. And if you did want any more proof that we are in Shakespeare's old stomping ground, it's a replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind, which he sailed all the way around the world in 1577. Very first Englishman who managed that. And when Sir Francis came back, he brought with him £25 million worth of treasure, all stolen from Spanish and Portuguese territories in the Caribbean. Did not arrest him for being a pirate though. Of course not. This is England. We gave him a knighthood instead. That money paid off our national debt. But there is a wonderful museum on board that little replica. They do great things for kids, treasure hunts, reenactments, things like that. This bridge here, this incredibly boring slab of grey concrete we're about to go through, I present to you the world famous London Bridge. I know, a lot of people think the next bridge along, the pretty one with the towers, is London Bridge. Nope, that's Tower Bridge. Keys in the name. It's got towers. This is London Bridge right here. If you don't believe me, look to your left and right hand side as we go through. Look, 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 they literally put the writing on the wall for you there. London Bridge. This is what you came all this way to see. I'm very sorry. It is not the original, I do have to say that. We've had so many different London bridges right here over 2,000 years now. This one only dates back to the 1970s. We sold our last London Bridge to an American gentleman. Robert P. McCulloch paid £1 million for Victorian London Bridge at auction and had it shipped out and rebuilt brick by brick in his home in Arizona. Where you can still visit it. It's a golf resort in Arizona. It's apparently a lot more attractive than our London Bridge, so if you want to see a nicer London Bridge, go to the States. Rumour has it he thought he was buying Tower Bridge and was very disappointed when London Bridge showed up. He denies it, but you would, wouldn't you? You may have missed her. She is wearing her North Atlantic camouflage, but there is a rather spectacular warship coming up in front of us to the right. Now, this is the HMS Belfast. She was our largest cruiser during World War II. She is 11,500 tons, and her career has been legendary. So, she fired some of the first shots at the D-Day landings. She sank Hitler's favourite battleship, the Scharnhorst. She fought in the Russian convoys, the Arctic convoys. She fought in the Korean War, and apparently she could still fight today. She's supposed to be battle ready in 72 hours, and those guns at the front there, they can fire up to 12 miles. They could hit Croydon from here. I'm not saying they should, but they could. Just funny if you'd been to Croydon. It looked like she'd be sold for scrap metal that she got rescued. Now she's a floating museum, all access. I promise you, that's one of the best days out you'll have in London. It is fascinating. It is totally self-guided. They let you go everywhere. So many ladders. If you've got kids, or you are a kid, or you're a teacher, they do school sleepovers on that ship. They call it Kip on a Ship. So they'll let your kids sleep in the sailors' quarters. They'll let your children fire the guns, which are not loaded, I hasten to add, but still. She was named after where she was built in Belfast. Same boatyard that the Titanic was built in. The Titanic was her big sister. Did a lot better than her sister, obviously. She's still good. Okay, so before I start talking to you about the bridge, and don't worry by the way, I'm going to go through the bridge, around the bridge, you're going to get a picture of the bridge from every conceivable angle. I just want to very quickly mention this really weirdly shaped black glass roundish building on our right here. Loads of nicknames, the Armadillo, Stuffed Pancakes, Starcakes, Helmet. No, that's actually the office of the Mayor of London. That is City Hall. That's where our Mayor, Sadiq Khan, meets with the Greater London Assembly. So London's most important decisions made in that weird little building there. I always think the staircase looks like a lot of fun. Plus they've got a really cool Christmas market underneath that at the moment. Tower Bridge now, the most photographed bridge in the entire world. Sorry, San Francisco, our bridge is better than yours. Not as old as it looks. Looks old to blend in with the Tower of London on our left here. I will tell you all about the tower when we turn around, but if you are on my left, I always think this is a really nice angle for a picture. But yeah, the bridge only dates back to the 1890s. All this stonework on it, purely cosmetic, does not need it. It is a steel and iron bridge. It has to be, because it is a vascular bridge, meaning it opens and closes in the middle to let tall ships come in and out. Used to open a lot. We're talking 40 times a day a lot. Now you're lucky if it will open 40 times a year, sometimes. Do check the website if you'd like to see it open though. They have to give you at least 24 hours notice, so it will be on there if it's gonna. I will say, try and get away from Tower Bridge if you can. Victorian legend says, if you manage to get away back, the entire boat does get 5 years good luck. But unfortunately, I can't see it. I'm trying to find someone to distract from their selfies. Maybe if I scream down the mic, I can get her to wave. Wait for it. Hello? No, she's not bothered. I'm going to try again on our way back. I'm quite possessive about ranking luck. That comes from when the Victorian sailors would go to sea. That was usually their very last chance to see their loved ones right there. So